Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's first day of his state visit to France has been eventful. Honoring the invitation of his French counterpart, President Emmanuel Macron, the strengthening of ties between Nigeria and France for mutual benefit is the bond of this historic meeting. Arise News international correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya sends this report of Tinubu's day in Paris.
And with the pomp and circumstance anyone would expect from a state visit, Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, greeted by President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte. The two leaders sat behind closed doors for a bilateral meeting and an economic forum before telling the world about their discussions and plans for the future.
The French-Nigerian business role is so important, and trade and investment has been integral to this partnership. As discussed earlier on, we need to do more, promote more, invest more in very important areas, food security, so on. No, we cannot but invest in one another's economy. As Nigerian financial sector is involving in the France environment. Thank you for creating the conducive environment for them to flourish, and we are creating the same grant for investment in Nigerian economy for the French.
President Macron made sure to thank Nigeria for its already existing relationship, especially in the line of banking and finance. Zenith and Access Bank both opening up operations in the country.
Et favoriser la montée des industries culturelles et créatives.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had already said that Nigeria had made leaps and bounds when it comes to securing the country, but in the same vein said that Nigeria did need France in order to actualize more progress in this area. He talked about the need for security along the lines of collaboration, but didn't go into specific detail about what that meant, whether or not this was going to be more funding, more manpower, in Nigeria and across the region. That being said, he did outstretch his hand towards France in the area of security, making clear that Nigeria does need France's intervention, support and investment when it comes to tackling security and creating a security framework he says will stop migration. As the two men left the podium, ink went to paper, and then the evening festivities began. The state dinner brought together French and Nigerian dignitaries alike from a host of different industries: banking, politics, creative industries, finance, all of them coming together to listen in to what both presidents have to say. And speaking of presidents, both Emmanuel Macron and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, shrouded by their wives, stopped to give this little tidbit to Arise. Sir, I hope that you have treated them wonderfully. We've had a great time so far.
Okay, we are having
Oh,
very good one.
great. I hope you're not too cold, Mr. President.
Not at all. We brought sunshine this morning.
I'm so happy about that.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye. Well, the red carpet behind me represents the opening of this evening's festivities and simultaneously the closing of a full first day of major events, conversations, deals being signed and agreements being made between Nigeria and France as they continue to foster a mutually beneficial relationship: education, business, finance, harnessing youth and the population, talking about vulnerable identities in both countries. We're all over the agenda as Nigeria continues to position itself as not only a leader on the African continent, but here in mainland Europe and the rest of the world. Adefemi Akinsanya, Arise News, Paris.
Let's cross live now to Paris and speak to Adefemi Akinsanya. Hi, Adefemi. How are you doing?
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. I'm fine. I'm cold.
Okay,
Extremely cold.
yeah,
But I'm always warm to hear your voice. Good morning to you all.
But the weather is still better than what we experienced in Switzerland in January. So I just manage it.
That is true.
Anyway, very quickly.
I'll manage it well. I'll try my best.
So many
Thank you
things
so much.
happened
Go ahead.
yesterday. So many things happened yesterday. The reception where Asha played. I've seen some people complaining, saying that Asha didn't play There Is a Fire on the Mountain. Or, Jailer, Mr. Jailer. Well, that's one, the reception. And the second thing is about the, the excitement in the French-Nigerian Chamber of Commerce that Nigeria and France, they're deepening relationships at the level of business. For example, you have the United Bank for Africa signing a memorandum of understanding. You have, as you told us yesterday, Zenith Bank also, opening an office. You have Ige Mokwede of Access Bank, who was appointed chairperson of the Nigerian France Chamber of Commerce in May. But the latest news is that of the United Bank for Africa with Mr. Tony Elumelu, TOE, as is popularly known, representing us. And then the icing on the cake is President Macron speaking pidgin and reminding everybody that he was once an intern in Nigeria. That was in 2002, when as a student of nationally called l'administration. L'administration. He was, an intern at the French embassy in Abuja. So take us through all these other, minor details. Well, they are the major details.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Rubin. You've done a comprehensive job. You are the international correspondent of the day, giving us an update on what we have seen, what has happened throughout the evening yesterday. And as you mentioned, real examples of the leaps and bounds being made by Nigerian businesses, especially in the line of banking, and them asserting their presence here in Paris. And of course, showing that this relationship can be mutually beneficial and is not just Nigeria in a position having to come to Europe asking for money, even though that is part of what we have heard yesterday. I would really like to talk about defense and security, because since the press conference yesterday afternoon, there hasn't been a lot of specific information, and it leans itself to ask more people to understand what may be going on here. During the press conference, President Tinubu talked about and thanked really President Macron for promises he had made in the line of defense, in terms of defense, but didn't go on to give any prior or any further details about what that means. And I think for many people who are reacting to that part of the festivities, there are lots of questions and similarly concerns to be raised. As you all know, when we look at the West African region, especially with a lot of Francophone African countries, you are seeing many examples of these countries turning away from France, their colonial ruler, and all of those types of influences. Nigeria being an Anglophone country, it is interesting to see that in terms of defense and security, they are turning towards France in this way. And it is, as I said, raising eyebrows and also flustering some types of concern. So over the course of these next couple of days, it would be interesting to see if Nigeria would be a bit more forthcoming about what that actually means, because I think that with the celebrations that you talked about yesterday, sometimes some of the more poignant lines of international diplomacy, bilateral unions between Nigeria and France, these things kind of get lost behind the headlines. So that's definitely something that many people would like to know more about. And I'll also be very interested to hear your thoughts, Rufai Shaitan, on this matter too. But again, going ahead to the rest of the day, President Tinubu is still here in France. He will stay in Paris today. He is believed to be attending a conference called MTEF, where he will be delivering the keynote speech. It's about, again, finance and fostering more relations in this area while he is still on his visit. And then to the same vein, there are going to be other events. The Minister of Finance, Minister Wale Edun, will be delivering a speech alongside Mr. Ige Mokwede. Later on this morning, we'll actually be heading straight there after I finish talking to you. So again, another example of business and finance really leading the charge when it comes to Nigeria's offerings to France. I'd love to hear your thoughts before we go to the papers.
Okay, I think it wasn't Mr. Wiki I saw there in that famous jacket, the jean jacket or something. I think I couldn't have missed him there. Real quickly, for me, yes, a lot of good optics, good deals as regards the banking, but there are no specifics as regards the press release yesterday or the joint press conference. And they didn't allow media ask questions. That's why I was even taken aback. Why didn't they allow you folks ask questions?
Exactly.
Because I don't know why that was done. I know in France has the Dassault aviation company that makes the Rafale fighter jets. Are we buying Rafales? Because when they say security partnership, or is it just training? Training is a dime a dozen. Everybody comes to train Nigerian military one way or the other. Secondly, in terms of agriculture, I know Danone, the French company, they've got some leg here. Are they ramping up production of milk? Is that the possibility? They are also agricultural banking finance, Credit Agricole. Are they giving small stake farmers loans here? I don't know. We have a thriving fashion industry. LVMH, if you check the CAC 40, the CAC 40, one of the biggest companies in France, led by Bernard Arnault, one of the world, at some point the world richest man. Are they coming to set up, fashion outlets here and all of that? Sanofi, the pharmaceutical giant, also on the CAC 40, recently left Nigeria. Is there a possibility that Sanofi will be coming out to make more investments in Nigeria, or they will be coming back into Nigeria after they left? I can go through almost all the companies on the CAC 40. So where are the deals? Apart from the UBA and the Zenith that we've talked about, where are the money deals? That's what we're asking about all of it. Because if President Tinubu goes to fly our private jet, burn our fuel, our presidential jet, burn our fuel and everything to go, and also spend expense and stay in hotel, all on our bill, it should at least bring some tangible money back home for us to be able to see that at least all of our money that is spent to this 3-day visit in France is not in vain. So we want to see workings. President Tinubu, show us working. We thank you for talking to Arise and Femi yesterday and reacting to us. But where is the money? Because we need money at a point in time like this, that things are down for the economy. We want country-to-country relations. We want investment. We want to be hearing billion. Not just pledge, real French companies coming here to do business with us. That's what we want.
Definitely. I must say, Adefemi, you're doing a fantastic job. Bonjour. But while, the two gentlemen in the studio have touched on, the deals, the impact that we're going to see outside of, finance and these deals being made, we're looking at, because we looked at his 10-plan agenda, and there are some things that really stood out for me, especially when we look at the creative industry. We did see France pledging support for Nigeria's booming arts, music, film sectors, recognizing them as engines of economic growth. But then what are the next steps? That's such a, would I say, a vague conversation. What exactly are you pledging? We also listened to President Tinubu's speech yesterday, where he was linking child education to national development, proposing initiatives like providing milk and sandwiches, to students, breakfast to enhance school attendance. But how exactly is that going to happen? We also saw President Tinubu advocating for joint efforts to combat terrorism and migration challenges. We saw, even defense and technology, him asking for advanced technology partnerships to strengthen Nigeria's defense capabilities in light of the insecurity issues that we currently face. And these are all good and well. But just like Rufai rightfully said, what exactly are the plans? What is the roadmap? We always have these conversations, but it always feels like it just ends there and we don't see where it goes through. There's so much that can come out of, this relations between Nigeria and France. There are a lot of highlights, a lot of good things that have made the news, but what exactly is the impact that we are getting from this? That is the question that I have for President Tinubu this morning.
But just before we move on, let me make this point, that Nigeria is very pivotal to France's attempt to redirect its engagement with Africa. France, having failed in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, in fact, that same yesterday, Chad ended its defense agreement with France. So it's for Nigeria, as Sheiton has said, to follow through on all of this. President Tinubu was saying yesterday Nigeria is open for business. And President Macron told him that France is ready and we are ready to partner with Nigeria. So all of that in terms of optics will seem to be very good, in my view.
Well, thank you all for your great and wonderful analysis. So many questions that have been asked, so many answers we are still waiting for. Let's move on to our newspapers today. And of course, we will look and start with the front page of This Day newspaper this morning. Definitely, Tinubu being Harris is dominating Nigerian papers. But as I said, let's take a look at the front page of This Day. And This Day leads with the prospects for the future after President Tinubu's remarks to his French counterpart, saying that Nigeria's economy is being repositioned for more impactful foreign direct investment. The New Telegraph, however, also joins This Day in its coverage of the president's trip to Paris, France, and Tinubu's state visit. The paper talks about Tinubu calling for more investment in food security and solid minerals, as we've already discussed. There's also a picture from the opening of Zenith Bank's commissioning of its first branch here in Paris. Moving on to The Guardian this morning, and it is World AIDS Day. The Guardian reports on the rising spread of the disease as more HIV-infected children, which include 140,000 Nigerian children currently affected here in Nigeria, are continuing to slow down the race to stop the spread of AIDS and HIV. Moving on now to the Vanguard and the Daily Independent. Amongst the latest updates to this controversial tax reform, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, both papers, the Vanguard and the Daily Independent, report on the offering of an increased 55% of VAT distributed to states, which would see the reduction of the federal government's allowance from those monies brought down to 10%. Now, if you blink, you may miss an important story on the front page of the Daily Trust, just on the bottom left there, where Amnesty International says police killed at least 24 people during the #EndBadGovernance protests. The Punch reports on organised labour and states holding a last-minute meeting ahead of a planned strike on Monday in protest of the minimum wage. And finally, in terms of our Nigerian papers, the Daily Sun leads with news that Nigerians spend 68 billion naira on UK visa applications in 1 year. And unfortunately, many rejections have been the outcome of those applications. Now, on the front page of Ghana's Daily Graphic, Mahama and Bawalia sign a peace accord ahead of the December 7th elections. And in the United Kingdom, the front page of The Times, which kind of leads itself to what we've just talked about on the Daily Sun, has a report on the shock increase of immigration to the United Kingdom, prompting tighter rules. So perhaps the UK is accepting visa applications, just not from Nigerian applicants, which is concerning nevertheless. Those are our newspapers from around the world. Love to hear your thoughts.
I'll start from Ghana this morning. I'm very excited that Bawumia and Mahama signed a peace accord, because I have never seen this level of madness going on in Ghana. It was so sad that 2 days ago on Metro TV, armed police officers wanted to come on air and disrupt a program and probably arrest those that were speaking on air. I mean, Ghana used to be some level of civility away from us, but it's not a hellhole to the extent that I know somebody that is leaving Ghana to come to Nigeria for safety during this election. So I'm happy that they are signing a peace accord. Hopefully, things will pan out. For the visa rejection, I think that's a big ecosystem that we need to look at. How can people expend 68 billion and most of them are rejected? Can we also put a platform in place that a certain percentage of your visa fee is returned to you if you are rejected? Because this can't just go on. And these embassies are milking money, even if it's 10 to 15 or 20% of your visa fee. I know entirely might not, because they paid others in processing fee, but maybe the profit margin on the visa should be returned. I yield the floor. I rest my case.
Oh, okay. You want me to speak that? Okay. Now, I'm more interested in the story on the front page of the Times newspaper of London this morning. Yesterday, you brought this story, you did, of Kemi Badenoch giving her first major speech as a Tory leader and shadow minister and complaining about the immigration and saying, well, they messed it up, but now there must be a cap on visa applications, visa approvals. Now, the interesting thing is that in the Times today, yesterday, Prime Minister Keir Starmer addressed the issue. He called a meeting, he made a statement, and he said the government will publish a white paper early next week on the plans that they will take to introduce reform. What reform are they introducing? A points-based system, whereby the country will still allow foreign workers to come in, but the points-based system says that those who are bringing workers from abroad must also train domestic workers. The other measure that they are adopting is the review of the NHS system, is the review of persons who say they are obese, is providing medical care for the British people who are not working to get Britain to keep working. What is my point? I can give more details, but let me quickly summarize because of time. Is that we saw the opposition leader, Kemi Badenoch, coming in on this issue frontally in her first major speech. And then you have the government responding almost immediately and addressing the recommendations that she offered and saying this is what we will do going forward if it is Nigeria. What you will have read front page of Times today, it will have been that Kemi Badenoch is this, Kemi Badenoch is that. In fact, they will even have questioned the breakfast that Kemi Badenoch had before she made that speech. We can learn from other jurisdictions.
All right, then I only have about 30 seconds, but what caught my eye was a story on the front page of The Punch talking about the minimum wage, labor stating that they're holding last-minute talks to make sure that they don't go on strike. December 1st is on Monday. You really don't want to start the festive season with certain states going on strike, but it looks as if the states that are yet to approve their monthly wage, Katsina, Cross River, and Zamfara, will definitely is something that they're going to have a conversation about. And more importantly, the fact that Lagos State has announced that its workers can smile to the bank with up to 100,000 naira monthly for the first quarter of 2025. So to just make sure that these conversations are had, because we do know what happens to the economy the minute we have any kind of strike. But we've run out of time now. Thank you so much, Adefemi Akinsonya, of course, reporting live for Arise News all the way from Paris.